So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Kaduki back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Tuesday, May 25th here today. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact Tuesday, May 25th here today. We are coming off of another playoff night in sports. Some NBA games on last night. A lot of NHL, a lot of good NHL playoff games on last night. So a lot of good sports action on, and there's a lot more coming tonight. The Nets play Game 2 against the Boston Celtics. Yankees open up a 3-game set against the Toronto Blue Jays. Mets continue their 4-game set against the Colorado Rockies. They're in the second game of the 4-game set after losing last night's game to begin the first game of the 4-game set. And obviously the Knicks will play tomorrow in Game 2 of their series. So obviously a lot of news to get to, a lot of stuff going on. It's great to have all these sports back. It's been a while since we've had playoff basketball and MLB and all that stuff and NHL playoffs all going on at the same time. Obviously last year you had, no fans in the playoffs for the NHL and the NBA. It just wasn't the same. Then you had the short 60-game season, the MLB, and we're finally back. We're back in action. MLB fans back, NBA, NHL, a lot of fans in the arenas, the crowd, the fans, the just energy in the arenas, in the stadiums, whatever sport it is, whatever you play in, whether it's an arena or stadium or dome, whatever it is. Obviously, it's been great to see that, and it's been great to watch some of the playoffs, and like I mentioned, the Nets play today, and it's a big opportunity today for the Brooklyn Nets to go up 2-0. And I said it yesterday, I'm going to say it again today. I mean, this is a big game for the Brooklyn Nets. If the Nets win this game, there's a good shot we go to Boston. I don't know if Boston won't win either, but I could possibly see the Brooklyn Nets taking at least one in Boston. And then you come back, and you're up 3-1, and you have an opportunity to win it at Barclays. So, the Nets right now are in a golden situation. They're in a very good situation right now if they win tonight. Now, if they lose tonight, boom, the series is tied. You now head to Boston, and now that makes Game 3 that much bigger for both teams. But if the Nets win tonight, you got to feel pretty good about your chances if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, and you got to feel pretty bad about your chances if you're a Boston Celtics fan, because that means the Nets literally will have to take one from Boston, and you come home to a packed Barclays Center, and then all you got to do is win one there, and you're moving on, and it looks like you're going to be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Bucks, obviously, that series isn't over, but the Bucks are up 2-0. They smoked the Heat last night. I'm very surprised. I was thinking about it this morning. I watch different shows, obviously all the different broadcasts, and, people were saying maybe the Bucks, maybe this is their year. Maybe this is their year where they're proving everyone wrong and saying that they are a good playoff team. Obviously, all these years have been terrible in the playoffs. Now maybe this is their year to show people that they're not bad at playoffs anymore. Obviously, if they do win against the Heat, they're gonna have to face the Nets, which won't be an easy task for the Nets or the Bucks or whoever is in that series. It should be a good series. I'm not gonna jump ahead though. Nets still have to play tonight. Yankees also play tonight. Mets, like I mentioned, second game of a 4-game set, and OTAs in the NFL have officially, really in full swing. So a lot going on. NFL starting to slowly get going here. I shouldn't say slowly. It's creeping up quickly here. Training camp's coming right around the corner. Training camp starts July, I think. So it's almost already June here. In about a month and a half here. Training camp's going to be going for the NFL, so that's obviously super exciting. I'm pumped. I really am. I'm pumped to see all the young players and see what they're all about. Obviously during the season and also training camp and see what they're doing. So that's obviously good. OTAs, like I mentioned, NHL, NBA playoffs, MLB on, Yankees on today, Nets, so much good sports on today. With all that being said, let's get into the topics for today. As I just mentioned, OTAs have started in the NFL, but that's not the topic here. I mean, it kind of is, but the big topic here is Aaron Rodgers did not attend the Packers OTAs yesterday. So he did not attend their OTA yesterday. He was not on the field. He was not spotted. He was not on the active OTA roster that's in person. So all these trade rumors, all this buzzing, around, Aaron Rodgers between who's he going to be playing for next season? Is he going to be a member of the Packers? What is he going to do? He answered a big question. He is not at OTA. So, that's a big thing. And what will be is when it becomes, I believe, mandatory OTAs. Right now, it's OTA. So, I believe right now OTAs are optional. Now, I believe it's also optional either you want to do virtual or in-person OTAs. I think it is. But, with that being said, I mean, it's big. It's not huge because it's optional. But when you see somebody like Aaron Rodgers who's always showing up not be there, it's that, and between all the trade rumors that are going on, I mean, it's kind of it's definitely an eye-opening. And we'll really see how it all develops. But it doesn't look like he's going to show up to OTAs, so this does check one thing off the list. You got to go by OTAs, then you got to go to mandatory OTAs. Then if he doesn't show up to training camp, you got to really be like, okay, this guy is completely done. He's holding out. Now, let's just say he shows up at training camp, but he's still determined not to play for them, then, that also answers the question. So, slowly as we get closer to the season, more and more questions about Aaron Rodgers and about the Packers and about his future in the NFL will be answered, and we just got an answer yesterday, and I'm going to talk about it today. Him not attending OTAs. I'll tell you what this means about the Packers and what this could mean to Aaron Rodgers. So that's the first topic. Then the second topic, I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Not too early in the season, but definitely it was a couple weeks ago. Probably late April, early May, and I was talking about Francisco Lindor, and I talked about his struggles, and I don't know if I exactly mentioned this in the podcast, but I do know that I wanted to mention it again. I wanted to kind of do an update on him, and it is now, May 25th. It's not completely at the end of the month, but we are pretty much we're pretty much 2 months through the season. I mean, June 1st will officially mark 2 months through the season in the MLB. So, we're pretty much 2 months through the season, and I kind of wanted to do this update. I did one, late April, early May. And I kind of said, it's not too much. It's not really time to worry. He's he's really good. He might break out of it. And we're still sitting here on May 25th, and he's not doing anything. I believe he's batting still like 190 or 180 something. And last night, I believe he went like 0 for 3, 0 for 4 with a strikeout, I believe. So he's still not hitting. He's still not playing well. Now, his defense is good, but other than that, he's not doing anything. And what can the New York Mets do? That's the big question. We don't really know. So it's kind of like another update, but at the same time, it's like, what's going on with this guy? Like, there's no more of an excuse now of, oh, it's early, he's got to get warmed up. We're almost in June already, okay? We're getting closer and closer to the dog days of summer in baseball. There's no more of this excuse of, oh, we're only, a couple games into the season, oh, we're only a month through the year. We're almost 2 months through the MLB season. There's no excuse to be batting 190 if you're Francisco Lindor and getting paid, $300, $400 million that he is. So I wanted to get into his struggles. I wanted to get into his stats and kind of just tell you what I think might happen with him. I don't think they're going to release him. I don't think they're going to trade him. But is this just a down year for him? I'll get into that. Then I'll get into the New York Sports Update. Like always, finish it off with the New York Sports Update. Sports New York. I technically should probably just call it Sports Update because it's not just New York sports. It's also, the NBA, the NHL, playoffs, stuff like that. But we do got a lot going on tonight and tomorrow in New York sports. Nets play. Yankees play. Islanders got a big win last night. They'll play tomorrow. If they win tomorrow, they're moving on. And I believe they will play the Bruins. So they will move on and play the Bruins. Just had to check the bracket and make sure that was right. So they will move on and play the Bruins tomorrow. And if they win tomorrow. They obviously got a day off today. And if they win tomorrow, then they will win it all. Or not win it all, but they will win the first round series and we'll see how it all plays out. Like I mentioned that, Yankees play today, Mets also play today, Nets play today, Knicks play tomorrow, along with the Yankees and Mets throughout the week. So, a lot going on in New York sports, a lot going on in sports, but with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So obviously today, Tuesday, May 25th, this Aaron Rodgers stuff, Aaron Rodgers rumors, Packers quarterback did not attend OTAs amid trade buzz, and we sit here May 25th today, and there's still so many questions, there's still so many things, there's still so many issues surrounding this Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers situation, and obviously he had this special exclusive interview yesterday, exclusive interview, I would say like an interview, kind of like a question, Q&A, whatever, it's an interview, and they asked him kind of his situation with the Packers. I guess you can kind of call it his first like public appearance since he, has issues with the Packers, and, he was saying some things, with just the organization and how they run things and how they do things and their way of trying to win and just all that stuff. And, it's no shocker to me that he's judging the culture, because this is a guy in Aaron Rodgers that wants to control everything. Everything he does, every decision that has to be made, it has to revolve around him. He has to make the final decision, and that's the issue with Aaron Rodgers is, yes, he's a very good quarterback. Yes, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Yes, he won a Super Bowl, and yes, he was the MVP last year. Check off all those boxes. He's a good quarterback. You can't take that away from the guy. But at the same time, this is a guy that, this is a guy that likes to do a lot. And he's not a coach. He's a player. But he likes to have too much control. And that's the issue I feel like right now. It's not so much the Packers. It's a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. And I'll get to that a little bit more in depth later on here in this show here. But like I mentioned, this has been something that's been going on really since they lost their playoff game, and he went to an interview, and they asked him, his future with the Green Bay Packers, and he said, I don't know my future, my future's uncertain with the Packers, and a lot of the other guys' futures are uncertain, just in general with the Packers and, the NFL, and, what they're going to do with their careers in the NFL, and that sparked really this whole, I can kind of say, this whole couple month thing here and it's still going on, and, it obviously happened after that NFC Championship loss, yet another year losing in the NFC Championship game. They get there, they lose. They got there against the Niners, they lost. They got there this year against the Buccaneers, they lost. They're getting there. They're just not, finishing it off. They're not getting over the hump. That's what I should just say. They're not getting over the hump. They're getting to the top of it, but they're not fully getting over it. And I'm sure that frustrates him, and I get it. Losing's tough. I understand. Getting to that high of a level is tough. There's so many questions. There's still so many questions to be answered about this Aaron Rodgers thing. So he did not attend OTAs yesterday. And I'm assuming today. He's probably not going to attend them at all. And that's not surprising. Now, sometimes guys, sometimes players, they'll go out there and, they'll attend an OTA. And, everyone's like, oh, this guy's playing for us, and oh, this is great, it's great to see. But, at the same time, it still doesn't mean they're going to play. So that doesn't mean that Aaron Rodgers is fully done. Because OTAs, I don't believe it's like mandatory. It's something where you can go, it's kind of just, run some plays, work out, 11-on-11 drills. But it's surprising that your face of the franchise is not showing up. That's definitely surprising. It's mainly for really the rookies and some of the new guys on the team. You obviously get the other guys, but, especially the new guys on the team. Not just the rookies, the guys that are learning the playbooks. It gives you an opportunity to do that. So he didn't show up. Neither did Blake Bortles, but that's not anything special to talk about. Jordan Love did, and Alex Tanev, someone like that, did. Let's see. I believe it was someone like that. It was someone named like that. But Jordan Love was there. So, we'll see how it all plays out. Like I said, we'll see what he does. But it's not mandatory. So it's obviously it's not mandatory. It's not anything special. It is optional. You don't have to do it. But he didn't report also to Phase 1, which was held virtual, or Phase 2 in-person workouts last week. So he hasn't attended anything involving the Green Bay Packers, which is kind of an eye-opener to me. Because he doesn't attend anything, and yet it's not like he's even, not that this trade stuff has kind of died down, but it's not what it was a month or two ago where, we heard, or going to the draft, where we heard teams, where we heard rumors that teams might try to make a draft day trade for him, Or, we heard where Rodgers was so fed up with the organization he might retire. It's not like that anymore, but he's still not attending anything. He didn't attend Phase 1, and he didn't attend Phase 2, and he didn't attend yesterday, or he's not going to attend OTAs. So what is he going to do? Is he just not going to play for them? Is he eventually going to, attend maybe the mandatory OTAs that start in June, or is he eventually going to attend training camp? Is he just going to show up one day, go there but say, hey, I'm not playing, unless if we make front office changes? So it's a big question. Now, I want to get to this with Aaron Rodgers. My thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. I understand. I understand where Rodgers is coming from. Now, Rodgers did say in an interview yesterday he had his first, I guess you got to say, public appearance since really that playoff loss, that interview, and then, the request, and then he asking for the trade and wanting out and everyone like that. It was his first public appearance. He said nothing about it was Jordan Love. He said nothing about it was about Jordan Love. Now, I'm not trying to, not believe him, but I tend to disagree that I do think some of this is about Jordan Love. I really do. Because if you look at it, you got to look at it and say, hey, like Jordan Love, they drafted him. Rodgers thought his roster spot on that team was secure, and yet they still go out and draft Jordan Love. So, I could see where he's coming from. But at the same time, Aaron Rodgers has complained, about the way they do things in the front office, about the way they build the team, about, how they, kind of how they run things, how they build around him. I mean, it's a guy that I don't believe has only had like one first-round receiver, has like never had a first-round receiver around him. They haven't done a great job building around him, as I guess what he's trying to say. I'm not agreeing with that. I'm just saying that that's kind of his frustration. Now, here's the issue with that. He is arguably the best receiver in the NFL in Davante Adams. He's got Aaron Jones in the backfield. He's got Scantling. He's got Tanyan, who's the tight end. He's got good assets around him. I don't know really what he's really complaining about. And he's complaining that, how they run things and how they build the team. But Aaron Rodgers, he's got to realize that it's not always their issue. It's also the fact that his contract is so big, they can't really bring in these other guys and sign them to these mega deals because you're eating up over half of our cap space. So that's the issue here with Aaron Rodgers. Something's got to give. He wants all these players. He wants them to build the team better, but at the same time, he doesn't want to give up his contract. He wants to keep his contract. He wants to keep the money. He wants to keep getting paid, which I understand. He's got a pretty big, wealthy contract. If you're getting paid that much money, I'm sure you would like to keep it too. But in terms of trying to win, in terms of trying to, agree with the organization and have the organization build around you the right way, he's got to take a pay cut if he wants to stay with Green Bay. And that's where I think he could ultimately stay with Green Bay. But it's not really the front office that's the issue here. It's more so Aaron Rodgers and his contract and the cap space they have and them not being able to go out and get players. So he's complaining that they haven't built around him well enough. He's complaining that, and hey, to be honest, I don't think that's a fair assumption. They've built around him, I think, perfectly fine. They've gotten Davante Adams. They got Scantling. They got Tanyan. They re-signed Aaron Jones. I mean, to be honest, to be completely honest with you, for them not always having the top draft picks in the draft, because usually they've had some successful years here, they've done a good job of going out, getting a mixture of some young guys and some veteran talent, and drafting and picking up and trading for and stuff like that. They've done a pretty good job. So I don't think this is really to blame on the way they run things and their, the way the front office does things and stuff like that. When really it's Aaron Rodgers. This is what Tom Brady did. Tom Brady took a pay cut in Tampa Bay so they could bring in all those guys. Rodgers isn't doing that. So something's got to give here. Something's got to give. And to be honest, if you're going to ask me this question, and I'm going to give you my completely honest opinion, I could see it going both ways. Is Aaron Rodgers going to get traded? I don't think so. I think this is going to be one of these things that we see too often, where he shows up and he'll play. Now, does he play? I don't know, actually. I mean more so getting traded. I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't. Playing, that's a toss-up. That's a toss-up. Because, if he plays, I don't think he's going to give it his all. I think he's just going to go out there and play. If he doesn't play, you got Jordan Love. But then what do you do with Rodgers? Because you gave him a massive contract. You can't just, out of the blue, just release him or trade him. I mean, you could trade him, but you're going to want a lot in return. And like I said, the Broncos are still the favorites. They're still the favorites to land Aaron Rodgers. But with this being going on from January to now, we did check a big thing off of our box. We're wondering, is he going to show up to OTAs? No. And that might not sound like something that's very big, but it's a next step in the process of, is Aaron Rodgers even going to play the 2021-2022 season? We don't know. I think the question will be answered in training camp. If you had to ask me, I don't think he shows up to mandatory OTAs. I mean, if he doesn't show up to mandatory OTAs, you could probably just quit it. That's where if I'm the Packers, I think you just trade him. He's complaining about how things are run. He's complaining about the organization and the way they run things. Give him up. Trade him. He's been successful with you guys. Just give him up. I get it. I get it. He won the MVP and he's done all this good stuff and he gets the team to the playoffs and all that. And then if you trade him, well, that might result Devontae Adams to eventually leave and then maybe some of these other guys here and there to leave. Because if you trade him, I'm going to be honest, not that I don't believe in Jordan Love. I mean, I got to see him play first. You can't just make a blunt assumption that Jordan Love's not going to be good. But to be honest, do we really think Jordan Love's going to lead this team to playoffs? No, I don't think so. To be real, he's not going to lead this team to playoffs. If you give up Aaron Rodgers this season, you're not making the playoffs. You're probably not. Your wins probably go from 12 to 14 wins all the way down to maybe just trying to get 6 to 7 because Aaron Rodgers can be that crucial to a team. But this is the issue with Aaron Rodgers, and this is the issue with all these teams. And I said this with the Denver Broncos. This is what's happening. This isn't all about the Packers. This isn't really the Packers' fault. It's more so Aaron Rodgers because he wants too much power within the organization, but he's a player. As a player, your job is to go out there, get wins every Sunday, practice hard, play hard, get the job done, and get paid. That's your job as a player. The rest is the front office job. Making trades, free agent signings, drafting. And he's very critical of that. And if I'm the Packers, get rid of him. But that's an issue with the team that's going to go out and get him. You got to realize this is a guy that's going to want a whole lot of control. He wants a lot of control. And that's the issue with the Broncos here. If the Broncos would to go out and get him. Because if the Broncos get him, first off, they're going to have to give up a lot. And they're bringing in a veteran, and they're bringing in a guy who wants to do so much into a younger locker room. That's just not going to mix well. So, I personally, this is a big deal here that he's not, it is very big that he doesn't show, he's not showing up to OTAs. It's not huge, but it's eye-opening. Because, okay, let's just say he showed up to OTAs. Okay, you could say, all right, he's obviously not happy with the organization, but he's here. He's here, he's practicing, he's getting his reps in, but his goal is still to get traded. I mean, that's what James Harden did with the Rockets. He wanted to get traded, but he ended up deciding to play. He ended up deciding to go out there and play, and, he's kind of just, he wasn't happy with the organization, but, and, it kind of seemed like he was just going through the motions, but he ended up getting traded. Rodgers, maybe he could have done the same thing. He could have showed up to the OTAs, he could have got some work in, still wanted to get traded, but still be there for the teammates and guys like that. And for Rodgers to be complaining about that the GM and stuff like that having to do a good job, structuring this team and, just trying to win, he's got good guys around him. I mean, they've got one of the more violent offenses in the NFL. I mean, they've got a very good offense. I don't know where Rodgers is coming in to complain about. That's the issue. He wants too much power. You're a player, not a GM. That's how I look at it. So let's read this quick article here. Aaron Rodgers rumors Packers quarterback did not attend OTAs amid trade buzz. Unsurprisingly, Aaron Rodgers did not report for the Green Bay Packers organized team activities on Monday, according to Rob Demovsky of ESPN. Monday was the start of Phase 3, which will last for 4 weeks. Rodgers also didn't report for Phase 1, which was held virtually, or Phase 2 in-person workouts last week. OTAs, I believe, is all person now. The offseason program, minus the mini camp from June 8th to June 10th, is non-mandatory. So Rodgers won't be facing any fines. Per Dombrowski, however, he's already missed enough time to cost himself the $500,000 offseason workout bonus. It's been a primary storyline of the NFL offseason that Rodgers reportedly wants to be traded. As Dombrowski noted, the quarterback's absence on Monday is the latest indication that nothing has changed in his standoff between the Packers and Rodgers, who has told somebody in the organization that he does not want to play here again after spending the first 16 years of his NFL career in Green Bay. The Packers, meanwhile, have maintained that they have no plans to trade the superstar quarterback and reigning MVP. I've got nothing new to update, and we still obviously feel the same way head coach Matt LaFleur said earlier in May. We want him back in the worst way. I know he knows that and will continue to work at it each day and every day. It seems unlikely the Packers will trade Rodgers given that the team has reached the NFC Championship game in 2 consecutive years. The team would turn to unproven Jordan Love or veteran Blake Bortles in such a situation, which would be substantial downgrades. That leads to a number of questions. Will Rodgers hold out a training camp or even regular season games? How long will he continue his standoff with the Packers? Will the team relent and consider a trade for the right price? And I mentioned this earlier. This is a box that we got checked off, and it wasn't a very surprising check. But one of the big questions here is, will Rodgers hold out a training camp or even regular season games? Now, I'd assume if he holds out a regular season game or training camp, I'd assume he's not going to be on the team for the regular season. I would assume then they would trade him. But if he doesn't show up to training camp, that all signs are pointing towards he ain't playing. And if they don't trade him, then he's not playing, he's going to hold out, and it's going to be a standoff. And it's really whoever budges. The answer to those questions will have major ramifications for the power balance in the NFL this upcoming season. It's true. It's big what Rodgers does. It impacts a lot in the NFL. First off, it impacts the NFC. Because if Rodgers is in the NFC, if he gets traded, first of all, the team that got him got much better. And even though he wants to do a lot in the organization and wants too much power, he's a good quarterback. I can't take it away from the guy. I get that. I get the fact that, the other team would improve much. And the Packers would downgrade a lot. So then you got to make that question, who wins the division? Then you got the Vikings, Bears, and Lions. And you're in that situation then. And then you're kind of, Bears are, the Bears are kind of 50-50. Like, they got a good defense. Their offense is a question mark. Who's going to start at quarterback week 1? Is it going to be Fields or Dalton? Are they going to give Dalton a couple weeks? If they're 1-3, 1-4, are they going to hand it over the Fields? Are they going to do what the other Chargers did? Are they going to, hand Herbert the ball week 2? Now, Tyrod Taylor obviously got injured, and then they handed it to him. But are they going to Dalton 3 weeks, see what he does, and then hand it to Fields? Are they going to give Fields the ball second half of the season? What are they going to do? That's a question. Vikings, obviously, you all know what they're going to do. And the Lions, they're in an interesting. They got, obviously, Jared Goff now. They lost a lot of big pieces, Marvin Jones Jr. and Kenny Golladay. So your receiving core is a little thin now. What do you do? So, this impacts a lot. This impacts the NFC. It impacts the division involving the Packers, Bears, Vikings, and Lions, and it impacts the entire NFL. Because the Packers will all of a sudden, if he gets traded, all of a sudden the Packers go from maybe winning 13 to 14 games to maybe only winning 5 to 6, maybe even 4, because they're going to be learning on the fly, and that could create a long rebuild. This is big. This is big for the future of Rodgers, big for the future of the NFL, big for the future of the Packers and their quarterback situation. So, then I wanted to read you some quotes from, a little bit of quotes of the interview he had yesterday. Just a couple of them. If I got to get it up here. These are just some of the quotes here. So, Aaron Rodgers on Packers trade rumors. Issues are about a philosophy, not Jordan Love. So Green Bay Packers star Aaron Rodgers on Monday alluded to what has unraveled behind the scenes to soar him on the organization, praising many within the Packers but leaving some glaring omissions. Pressed by Kenny Mayne on SportsCenter about the situation with Green Bay, got philosophical and said culture is built brick by brick, in that the franchise and its foundation is about the people. Then he said that served as a prelude of rating MVP, blah, 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 blah. Another quote, he said, Rodgers also called his MVP win a wrench in Green Bay's plan with Love, noted as the quarterback of the future. This is just kind of, I think, the spill out of all, he said. In general, his comments corroborated rumors of significant rift with the front office. Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio reported April 29th, the 9-time Pro Bowler doesn't like anyone in the front office for a variety of reasons. Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports followed up on May 1st to report Rodgers remains adamant and won't return to the team under the current stewardship of general manager Brian Gutekunst. The Athletic's Bob McKinn provided more about it, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers considered him Jerry Krause, who obviously was the GM of the Bulls, and he took down that big name team, the 90s Bulls, obviously, and, just the comment like this, too. A comment, culture is built brick by brick, and that franchise foundation about the people. Now, like I mentioned, it's not about Jordan Love. He preaches really the importance of the culture. I'm surprised that it's not about Jordan Love. I am. Because when they drafted him, you got to feel, it's got to be a little bit about Jordan Love. It's got to be a little bit. You can't tell me that since they drafted Jordan Love, he hasn't felt especially the fact that they traded up for him. I don't know. But those are some of the quotes he said. And like I said, he's complaining a lot about this. And I'm not trying to put everything on it. Rodgers, because I will admit, you got to look at both sides of it. You can't just be all against Rodgers. You can't just be that. You got to always look at both sides of the story. Both sides of the table, whatever you want to say. I can see the one side of why Rodgers is the issue here. There's a history. This is a guy that wants to do a lot. He wants to control a lot. At the same time, he wants to be a player and a GM at the same time. And that could be the culture. Maybe they're not, sharing as much about the GM and the situation there as he wants to, and he's getting mad. But to be honest, he's a player. He shouldn't have that much say in what they do. You could also look at it as they drafted Jordan Love. Obviously, you could look at it as they drafted Jordan Love. That's got to get him angry. Now, he said it didn't, but he's not going to say it. I don't think he will. I can guarantee you that got him at least a little bit angry. You can't tell me that he got angry. How would you feel if you're the starting quarterback? You've been there for, that was 15 years, but now 16 years, and they draft a quarterback. That's got to feel in a way like they don't believe in you. Instead of drafting a receiver and helping you out, they went out and drafted a quarterback, which was not a need. It's almost like you can kind of tell they're turning your backs on you. But at the same time, Rodgers does. He does. For a guy that he does want a lot of power. He wants to do a lot. He wants to have a lot. He wants to be in on a lot of the decision making. And this could be, kind of the, a little bit of the moving out process here. Yes, Rodgers, they want him still to be a quarterback, but this could kind of be maybe a little bit of a culture change for them. You've been great for us, but, let us make the decisions, let us make the moves, let us do what we need to do. And obviously, Rodgers not happy with that. Now, yesterday, it did help out a lot with what he said. Us as fans still don't know everything that's went down. He said people in the organization that he's been upset. We know that. But who is he told? We don't know. He's told individuals. That's all we get. Has he went right up to the GM and said, I want out? Or has he, told some people in the organization, maybe told some of his teammates that, hey guys, I'm done here. What is he going to do? Has he had a meeting with the GM and just said, I'm done, and leave? Not just like that, but in a way, just say, I'm done. And him not showing up to OTAs, he's standing pretty strong right now. He's standing pretty strong right now. He is. A lot of times players will give up and they'll just play. But this is a guy who we'll find out very soon here whether he goes to training camp or not. And if he does, then that would probably signal that he will play. And if he doesn't, I would assume that he's not going to play unless if he gets traded. So, A lot of unfolding in Green Bay, and I can tell you this. With all this stuff going on, it's got to be tough for them to focus on football. It's got to be tough for them to do their jobs. I mean, every day they're probably hearing something new about Rodgers, and obviously they're handling it. So they're front and center. They're handling it. They know what's going on. And if they realize, like maybe Rodgers has told him he's not showing up, which then could cause issues with them. So it seems like it's like when you make a snowball, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This is what it seems. It seems like there's every day we find something new and new and new, and eventually it's going to explode, and eventually something's going to happen, and Rodgers is going to go somewhere. They're going to trade him, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I'll tell you what, it's a big move. This is a big decision. You got a big decision ahead. This will decide a lot of the Rodgers' future and the Green Bay future, and a big future part of the NFL. So that's what I got on Aaron Rodgers, missing OTAs, and the continued situation with him and the Green Bay Packers. Coming up next, I want to get into Francisco Lindor. I talked about him a couple weeks ago, kind of a little bit of an update, talking about his struggles, and I'm doing here another update. We're only a couple days away from being officially 2 months through the MLB season, and Francisco Lindor is still one of the worst hitters on the New York Mets. And yet, this is a guy who was supposed to be very good, supposed to be dominant, and he's not hitting at all. I'm going to talk about his situation, and is he ever going to get it going? I'll get into that coming up next. Alrighty, so here we go. Okay, this is actually pretty funny. So, I guess today, I'll get into Lindor here in a second, but I guess today, just going through, getting up the stats here. So, today, Georgetown hosted its graduation ceremony at Nationals Park. Georgetown hosted yesterday, so this was yesterday, but it wasn't stopping Max Scherzer from getting his work in. So, I guess Max Scherzer was throwing at the graduation party. Oh, yeah, there he is. So, I guess he was throwing there while the graduation was going on, which is interesting. But, hey, that's the grind. That's Max Scherzer. That's why he's one of the best pitchers in the MLB. Alrighty, so anyway, alright, so let's talk about the Francisco Lindor and the New York Mets and their continued struggles, and not even just the Mets, but Lindor in general. I mean, the guy last night, again, went 0 for 4, shocker, 0 for 4 with a strikeout. His batting average is 189. His highest his batting average has been, this year, has been, like 202. His lowest has been, 157. And things seem to be getting worse. Things seem to just not be helping. And Francisco Lindor, he just seems to look lost. He doesn't look good. He looks terrible at the plate. And like I said this earlier on in the podcast, he's 27 years old. There's a lot of pressure. You got to expect right now this is prime of his career for these next 5-6 years here. But he's struggling. He looks terrible. This is definitely the worst Francisco Lindor I have seen out of all my years of watching him, all of my years of, kind of knowing who he is. It's definitely the worst I've ever seen. Obviously, I watched him last season in the playoffs. He wasn't very good, but he was better than this. And throughout last year, he didn't have that great of a year, but he's still, last season he had a little bit of a down year, but he was still batting 258, not 189. And I've always said this in sports, not just sports, but mainly baseball. And you could say it in sports too, right? NFL, first couple games, it's knocking off the rust. NHL, first couple games, knocking off the rust. NBA, first couple games, knocking off the rust. Baseball, it's a little different. You could have the first month, you're knocking off the rust. Just because it's a long season, baseball is a very difficult sport. All that training in the offseason, you go out there and you face a 97-mile-an-hour fastball for the first time, and you're like, wow, this is actually harder to hit than I thought. This is harder than I remember. So you gotta get into the groove. That's why you a lot of times see some guys, some players, some teams even are second half seasons. Some guys have okay first halves, and they break out in the second half of the season, which is considered right after the All-Star break. Some guys have great first halves of the seasons, go into the All-Star break, kind of, get that little bit of a, time off. They come back and they're slow and they're not good. So it's really whatever player you are. And if you're a guy like a Mike Trout or that good of a player, you're good all year round. It doesn't matter when you play, first half, second half, playoffs, whatever, you're that good. Francisco Lindor, in this situation, tends to be a guy that is getting off to an extremely slow start. And not just slow, meaning a first couple weeks into the season, but we're almost 2 months into the season. And Francisco Lindor right now is batting .189, 3 home runs, and only 9 RBI. So Francisco Lindor right now is arguably, not even arguably, he is the Mets' worst hitter right now. And he is arguably one of the worst hitters in baseball right now. He looks lost at the plate. He does not look good at the plate. He's striking out. He's not getting hits. He's not getting RBIs. He's not getting hits in big situations. His batting average is terrible. It's .189. This is a guy who's had seasons where he's batted up in the 280s, 290s, and he's batting .189. He's not even over the Mendoza line, which they obviously call that the Mendoza line, which is hitting over 200. If you're over 200, you're considered over the Mendoza line. 180 in the 100s, it's really tough. It's a long grind to get out of. But when you're in the 100s, when you're in the 200s, it's not terrible. Now, you would love to be up in the 260s, 270s. If you can get to the 280s, 290s, 300s, and anything else, that's an extra added bonus. But Francisco Lindor is 189. And I talked about this earlier on in the season. And Mets fans did too. And that's New York sports. If a guy gets off to a slow start, if a guy has a bad couple games, everyone's going to start to beat him up. And I was very, tough on Francisco Lindor, I will admit. He was struggling for the first couple weeks of the season. I was like, really? So you're giving this guy all this money, and he's struggling. Now, I did say that, I would definitely think that he would eventually break out of it because he's just that good. He's very talented, but he's just not hitting. And we're now sitting here now, and at the beginning of the season, you can make that excuse of, it's only 10, 15 games. You could. That's okay. I don't like to make that excuse. I didn't make it with the Yankees when we were terrible. Through the first 15 games of the season, the Yankees were awful. I did not make that excuse. I thought for sure that the Yankees were just that bad. They couldn't do anything. Now, obviously, hindsight 2020, you needed to give the Yankees some time. They're starting to heat up. They're on a 16 win streak, 28-19 on season. Today, we go for our 7th game in a row, and today we also go for 10 games above 500, but we're not talking about the Yankees right now. That's just an example. Francisco Lindor got off to a slow start. As a Met fan, I'm not a Met fan, but if you're a Met fan, you got to be thinking, okay, he's got off to a slow start. It's not terrible. Look at around the league. A lot of other guys got off to a slow start. Tatis got off to a very slow start. Actually, not very, but he got injured too. He got off to a little bit of a slow start. He then got injured. Then he came back. They got put on the COVID list. So he had a rocky little bit there. Now Tatis is arguably the hottest hitter in baseball right now. He's batting in the 300s and just raking. Same thing with Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich got off to a slow start, and he obviously went on the IL, came back for one game, then went back on the IL. He's off of it. I believe he had a home run the other day or yesterday, so he's starting to slowly come around it. Francisco Lindor got off to a slow start, tough start, not swinging the bat. He did not go on the IL. He did not get injured, but it was just a slow start for him. He's played 40 games this season. It was just a slow start. It was just a typical slow start for him. And you got to be thinking, okay, he's really good. You got to turn it around. But we now sit here on May 25th, and Francisco Lindor is still batting .189 and has only got 9 home runs and 3 RBIs. And there was a game a couple weeks ago. Actually, I could get the exact date. May 7th. So about 2 weeks ago, there was a game where he went 2 for 5, had a home run, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored, 2 hits. And that game, he was batting his lowest going into that game at 163. He hired his batting average to 175 that game. That was the big Ratter-Raccoon game where you had all the fighting and stuff going on. That was that game. He hit a home run. It was a big clutch home run. They won that game in 10 innings. That was the second game, which then ended up piling up into 6 straight wins for them. They went on a 6-game win streak, and obviously that was the second of that 6-game win streak. They ended up after that, so on and so forth. They are now obviously now coming back off of a long 9-game road trip. They're now back home. And the New York Mets have been struggling. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games, and they're struggling. And Francisco Lindor, if you're a Met fan, you got to be thinking pretty good. He goes 1 for 3 against the Cardinals. You're like, okay, he got a hit. They got the dub. Then he goes 2 for 5 against the Diamondbacks. Then he goes 2 for 3 against the Diamondbacks, and he's got 2 hits. He's got a run scored, an RBI. He also hit a double. And you're like, okay, now this is a guy who in that span of 3 games had 4 RBIs in 3 games. Then the next game he goes 1 for 3. And all of a sudden he gets on this mini hit streak. He gets on this 6-game hit streak. He gets another hit. He gets an RBI. Then he goes 1 for 2, then 1 for 4, then 0 for 4, then 1 for 4. And now he's back to his old ways. There was that stretch there of about 5 games where Francisco Lindor looked like he might have had it. Looked like he was getting around the ball. And that's about the time. It was May 8th? So you're like, okay, he had a slow month of April. It's only the beginning of May, and you're like, okay, he's starting to come around the ball. And then all of a sudden, things start to get worse. Then it's 0 for 4, then it's 1 for 4, then it's 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 3. Then he gets 2 hits, then it's 0 for 4, then it's 2 for 5, then it's 1 for 3. Then back-to-back nights here, he's 0 for 4 again. So now all of a sudden, Lindor, after that little 5-game stretch, the past 10, 15 games have been very minimal. In his past, 6 games, he's had 2 hits. In his past 8 games, he's had, I take that back. 5 hits in his past 8 games. That's not very good, considering some guys will get a 3-hit night. Like I said, it's one thing to concern. It's one thing to say it's April. He might just be off to a slow start. That's one thing. He's also with a new team. He's getting into New York. He's getting to the New York atmosphere and stuff like that. And also, you got to realize too that he's playing for a new team, and the Mets had a very slow, weird start to the season anyway. They had their start to the season was so weird. Their first series got postponed. Then they played a series. Then it got one or two of those games got rained out. Then they flew to the Rockies, and then they got snowed out there. Their first 2 weeks of the season, they played a grand total of 6 games in 2 weeks. They missed 5-6 games. It was something crazy. They just weren't doing anything, and it was hard for the players to get anything going because you played a game, then you were a day off. It was starting to get going. So all that mixed into it, you got to say, okay, Lindor just got off to a slow start. But now we're sitting here. He has gone up to the 226 mark before. But now we're sitting here and we're saying 186, and it's May 25th. And last night, May 24th, he went 0 for 4 with a strikeout, and he struck out in his last 3 straight games, at least once. 3 strikeouts in the last 3 straight games. That's an average of a strikeout per game. That's not great. What can the New York Mets do? I don't have a proper answer for you because I don't know what they can do. It's not like they're going to trade him. They can't release him. They ain't going to send him down to AAA. And they're not going to just drop him in the order because, first of all, it's just not going to happen with a big name like him. And second of all, they have so many injuries right now. You can't drop Francisco Lindor in the order when you got a bunch of no-names in the bottom of the order. Right, you got Cameron Maybin and a bunch of these. Cameron Maybin's, he's obviously with the Yankees, but a guy that I didn't even know was on the New York Mets until yesterday. So, there's a lot going on with Lindor right now. And this could just be a down year. Now, could this be one of these situations where he just has a terrible year? He's awful throughout the offseason. Everyone's just pounding him about how bad he is. He comes back next year better than ever, and he's dominant. Maybe that's the case. Maybe he's going to turn around second half of the season. But I'll tell you what. If you're a Met fan, you got to imagine, those couple games there, that 3-4 game stretch, that 4-game stretch where he was getting hits, he was getting RBIs. You almost had that feeling of, okay, he's finally coming around the ball, Francisco Lindor is finally hitting. And then you get into stretches like this where he's not hitting, he's not getting on base, he's not even getting on base. It's not like he's even drawing many walks. It's not like he's even getting on base that much. So he's in a bad situation. And it's now time to be concerned if you're a New York Mets fan. That's a question I wanted to answer, and it is. It is. It's time to be concerned if you're a New York Mets fan. And I will tell you why. Because we're sitting here on May 25th, and he's still batting 189. And everyone thought that the solution was going to be firing the hitting coach. That's not the solution. Francisco Lindor is still struggling. Now, that was obviously as the whole team, but he's still struggling. And with all the injuries right now with the New York Mets, you need a guy like Lindor to get going. You need a guy like that in your lineup to get going, to pick up, to really play well. This would be the time right now for Lindor to start picking up. But is he? All signs are pointing towards no. And from what I'm seeing, and from what a lot of other fans out there are seeing, I'm not a Met fan, a baseball fan, and just, a fan of New York sports. What I'm seeing is, I'm seeing a guy that just does not look right at the plate. And I listen, obviously, to many shows, and someone said this morning, and it was great. Because it's just truth. It's the complete truth. When you're watching the game, it's not like he's doing anything like seems like mechanically wrong. Like, he's dropping his hands or he's just late on the ball. He's just missing. Like, he's just not, his confidence, I'm sure, is low. I mean, you can't tell, the guy batting 186 with the media going like this and him getting slightly booed at the stadium and him in general having all this pressure, you got to admit his confidence is it's probably in the drain right now. His confidence is probably at an all-time low. And, as an MLB fan, as someone like me, I obviously was concerned about the Yankees earlier in the year, but if you're a Met fan here, this is time to really rethink this. Like, why did we give this guy all the money if he's going to struggle? And you might not want to go to that extent because it's 2 months into the season. It's 2 months into an 11-year contract. So you don't want to go into that extent. Now, if you look into the season, you're like, okay, that's 2 months of this season already, and he's kind of wasted it. And, even if he starts to pick it up, it's still not like, he's going to have any big MVP caliber year because you're going to go back to these 2 months of the season and look how terrible he was. But, I mean, in terms of the big contract and the big picture, it's 2 months into his 11-year contract. So he's going to have a lot more at-bats. He's going to have a lot more opportunities. So you got to hope that he turns it around. Maybe this just isn't his year. Maybe this just isn't. Maybe he's going to turn around late in the year when you're making a playoff push. Like I said, some guys just have down years. This could be a down year. That's a thing that a lot of sports fans always, hope that doesn't happen. A guy is always going to have a down year. Some down years are worse than others. This could just be an absolute down year where he's just not good. There's some players who have big years that don't have down years. A guy who last season had a little bit of a down year. It wasn't awful, but it was a little bit of a down year. It was also a 60-game season and stuff, but he's still carrying it over this year. And like I said, watching the game, and like I said, I'm a big nerd when it comes to sports. I do the scorebook for the Yankees game and stuff. I look over the stats and just collect all that stuff and memorize it, and I'll just look over numbers and analytics and stuff. I'll also watch replays and we'll look at guys' swings and stuff. I do a lot of that stuff. From what I see with Lindor, I don't see a guy who's really, doing anything really bad at the plate. In terms of his swing, in terms of his swing and, his contact point, stuff like that. I just see a guy that's just missing and a guy that's just confidence is really low and a guy that every time he's at the plate, it just seems like it's going to be an automatic out. And at the beginning of the year, Mets fans expected this guy to be their best hitter. In big moments in the game, they expected this guy to do his job, and he hasn't done it. And the pressure is building. Mets fans are getting impatient, and he's going to have to turn this thing around quick. Because I will tell you what, if a month from now he is still batting in the 180, 190s, he is going to get smoked. Now, if you're a Met fan, you got to look at this. Like I said, he's going to get smoked. I mean, he is. If we're going on 3 months through the season and he's still batting like 190, then you got to just sit here and say, wow, like this guy's just not having a good year. But maybe if you want to be optimistic about it, if you want to take the optimistic approach, maybe this is like a Julius Randle. His first season in New York, the pressure, Julius Randle, they got him, they brung him in. In a way, he was kind of like their big offseason addition, and they brought him in, and he wasn't good. He was terrible last year. This year he comes in, and he's been dominant. Maybe that's Lindor. Their big offseason acquisition this year doesn't have a good year this year, but next year, once he really gets with the feeling of New York, he comes in, gets the feeling of the organization, and hey, maybe he blows it up next season. But right now, all signs are pointing towards he's not getting anything going anytime soon. And I don't know what it was during that 5-game stretch, but there was that 3, 4, 5-game stretch to start the month of May. It was May 8th to start it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is a big month. This is a big opportunity for him. But now he's right back to his old ways. And you don't even know what to say anymore as a New York Met fan, because this was supposed to be your best hitter, supposed to be your best player, was supposed to turn into one of the faces of the franchise, and he is not anywhere close to that right now. So, we'll see how it all plays out. But like I mentioned, 189 batting average, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, and OPS of 572. I mean, his numbers are nowhere near the top of the league. He's 150 plus in the MLB in average, 150 plus in 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 150 plus, and OPS 150 plus. For a guy that's, had a couple, big, 90, he's had a 92 RBI season before. He's only had 9 so far this year. Definitely not good. And, for a guy that's, averages 20 home runs a season and 60 RBIs, he's only got 3 home runs and 9 RBIs this season. So, a guy who is batting average per season is 281. He's batting 189. So he is way below that. He's way below all of his averages. His on-base percentage is usually 343. This year it's 295. His slugging percentage is 277 this season. It's usually 478. His OPS is 572. His average is 821. So you got to look at it like, all of his numbers are down. Everything's down this season. It's not like you can look at one thing and say it's up. I mean, the home runs, he averages 20 home runs a season. That's down. He's only got 3. Now, you got to see how the rest of the season plays out, but 40 games into the season, he's only got 3. And 9 RBIs, which he averages 60. Now, if you want to look at anything else, you can go ahead and say he's played 40 games. So it's not like he's been injured and he's just been this injured mess this season and he's not hitting at all. Although that might make a better excuse for Mets fans saying that he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But I guess that's something that you could say, at least he's been healthy, at least he's not injured, he's just not hitting. But all the money he got, the expectations, he has not lived up to any of it so far. And we got to see if he finds any way to turn it around, because I'll tell you what, the Mets with all these injuries are going to need it. And just himself included is also going to need it confidence-wise and to help out the team. So we'll see how it all plays out with Francisco Lindor and the New York Mets. But let's get into the New York sports update here. Just grab a drink of water. Let's just wait till this loads. Alright, so yesterday the NBA, Nuggets got the win and Bucks got the win. So I was wrong on both. I said the Trailblazers might get the win and the Heat, but the Nuggets got the win and so did the Bucks. We got 3 games on today. We got Lakers Suns at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on TNT. Give me the Suns that game. Give me the Suns. Suns look good in the first game. AD looked bad. AD needs to show me he needs to look good. And then I'll pick them. I think the Suns win. And then Clippers, Mavericks. Give me the Clippers. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBA TV. Also today, Nets play today. Nets come into this series up 1-0. Celtics come into this series down 0-1. Mets. There it is. Nets come into this game 9-point favorites. Over-unders 227.5. This game comes on today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on TNT. Game 2, Nets lead 1-0. I will definitely be watching this game. Will definitely be tuning in. I will definitely be rooting hard for the Nets, and hopefully they get the win. 9-point favorites. Last game, the Nets were 8-point favorites. They covered that. They won by 11. So tonight, they're 9-point favorites. No reason why I shouldn't give the Nets the win here. Give me the Nets. Give me the win. And let's go up 2-0 and head to Boston. An opportunity there to either win it or at least take one and then come back to Barclays and get the series win. But if the Nets win tonight, I feel confident right now. If they win tonight, my confidence will go up a lot more. So hopefully we get the win. I will give them a win. As for the NHL, yesterday the Jets won, so the Jets swept the Oilers. Very surprising there. The Jets sweep the Oilers. I mean, just crazy considering some people had the Oilers going deep. But the Jets swept the Oilers. Wild beat the Knights, so the Wild stay alive. Panthers beat the Lightning. Panthers and their rookie goaltender, they all stay alive. 3-2, now the Lightning are up. Islanders got the win. Islanders are now up 3-2 in the series, and the Maple Leafs got the win. So they go up 2-1. I could see the Maple Leafs now running away with that series. Tonight we got 2 games on. We got the Maple Leafs Canadiens, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBCSN. Give me the Maple Leafs to win. I think they'll run away with this series now. Canadiens got game 1. Maple Leafs are just full on, going all gas now, and I think they'll win. And then Hurricanes Predators, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on CNBC. Give me the Hurricanes to win. Predators had success at home. They have not had success in Carolina, and with the Hurricanes, give me the Hurricanes to win. I said that too. I said they'll win in 5. I said the Hurricanes would win in 5. Obviously, that's wrong. But I did say the Predators would get 1 at their place. I did. They obviously got 2. But that's the battle of home. Hurricanes got 2 home wins. Predators got 2 home wins. Something's going to have to give there. Alrighty, so as for today, we got the Mariners, A's. That was yesterday's game. Mariners, A's. Mariners won. Twins won. White Sox won, Brewers won, Indians won, Marlins won, Rockies won, and Rays won. Like I mentioned, Rockies won 3-2 against the Mets. I mentioned that earlier. Terrible. Mets only get 4 hits against the Colorado Rockies. That's unacceptable. And I understand you're battling injuries, but the Rockies pitching is that good. It's bad. Brandon Drury's playing for the Mets right now. So nothing's going right with the Mets. VR got a hit, McCann got a hit, Drury got a hit, and Mazeika got a hit, pinch hitter. He got a hit. So, it's kind of interesting. Now, these are the players who did not strike out yesterday for the Mets: Peraza, Vargas, Drury, Tovar, and Mazeika. Other than that, VR, Lindor, McCann, Dom Smith, Nitto, Maben, Lee, and Peterson, who's the pitcher, all struck out. So, that's not good. That's not good when 85-90% of your lineup's doing that. Alrighty, so let's get into tonight's games in the MLB. We got the Cubs, Pirates. I'll give Cubs to win. Marlins, Phillies. I'll give Marlins to win. Nationals, Reds. I'll give Nationals. Hold on. Marlins, Phillies. I'll give Phillies to win, actually. Alcantara's on the mound. He's a good pitcher. He's 3.63 ERA. I'll give Phillies to win. Nationals, Reds. I'll give Nationals to win. Red Sox, Braves. I'll give Braves to win. Canadians, there it is. Indians, Tigers. Give Indians to win. I'll get to the Mets in a second here. Rays, Royals, I'll give Rays to win. Twins, Orioles, I'll give Twins to win. Padres, Brewers, give Padres to win. White Sox, Cardinals, I'll give White Sox to win. Astros, Cheaters, Dodgers, give me the Dodgers to win. Angels, Rangers, give Angels to win. Giants, D-backs, give Giants to win. And A's, Mariners, I'll give A's to win. Alrighty, so as for the Mets game, Mets come in this game 21-20. Rockies come in this game 19-21. Kyle Freeland's on the mound for the Rockies, and DeGrom makes his return off the IL. He's on the mound tonight, 7:10 p.m. Standard Time on SNY. I will tell you this. I think DeGrom will pitch very good, but I think the Rockies will win. Because, actually, the Mets can't hit. And they never hit when DeGrom's on the mound. I think DeGrom will pitch very good, but I think the Rockies win because the Mets can't hit. As for the Yankees play today. Yankees come in this game 28-19. Blue Jays come in this game 23-23. Steven Matz is on the mound for the Blue Jays. Corey Kluber's on the mound for the Yankees. Over-under is 9. This game comes on today, 7 to 5 p.m. Standard Time on Yes. Let's see, what are the numbers here? 70% of people give the Yankees the win. I will join those 70% of people, and I will say the Yankees get a win. Now, Kluber is on the mound. He's coming off of the no-hitter. So, in a way, you could go ahead and say that he might struggle coming off of that, but I think he'll do fine. Because you come off a big performance, there's been times where guys tend to struggle a little bit. There's been times. And you're coming off a big performance, the media, the hype up, especially coming back home, the crowd's going to be into it. there tends to be times where you struggle right after a no-hitter. It's also kind of just considered like the hangover type, where you're still not fully focused on this start. You're still worried about last start. But Kluber's a veteran. I think he'll do a pretty good job about leaving it on him. So, all right. So, now let's get into fantasy. As for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 49-20. And today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Matt Olson, Gene Segura, Austin Riley, Jay Cronenworth, Marcus Semien, Alex Bregman, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Manuel Margot, Avisail Garcia, and Yadier Molina. And I got Joe Musgrove on the mound. Like I said, I still don't know who all is going to play yet. Not all the lineups are out, so that's the lineup right now. But things could definitely change based on who plays and all that stuff. And yeah, that's what I got for the podcast. So hopefully the Yankees and Nets get wins tonight, and hopefully we get both Yankees and Nets wins, and obviously then the Knicks play tomorrow, which is big, not just for Knicks fans but NBA fans like me. Should be a good game, and yeah. Obviously going for the big 2-0 tonight. Nets win and Yankees win is obviously the hope. Now, we could also go for the 2-0 with the Nets if the Nets win tonight. So, Yankees try to 7-game win streak, extend that, get 10 games above 500, and the Nets try to get up 2-0 in the series. And really, 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 if they win tonight, the confidence for the Nets is going to go way up, and the Boston Celtics is going to go way down, and my confidence is going to go way up. It's already high. It's going to go even higher if we win tonight, meaning series-wise. Now, my confidence obviously high. I'm very confident that we have the team to win it all, and I think we will. But in terms of even the series as well, big game tonight, and yeah. With all that being said, though, that will do it for the podcast here today. It was another very good podcast in the books. As always, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.